Hi, a very warm welcome to Dusty Shelf Collectibles. Today, a retrospective review of the London Festival of Model Railways. Yeah, hi, so I wanted to do a little sort of retrospective video looking back at the Festival of Railway Modelling in London last week. So this time last week I was at the show. I'm now back here, obviously back in my workshop, reflecting on what happened last Saturday. I have to say, I thought the show was fantastic. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I've put a couple of videos on my channel. The first video, I'll put a link now, is me literally walking around the exhibition with a camera. So I got in there first thing, I walked around with a camera and I just highlighted who was there, where the exhibits were, and just gave a flavour of what was in the exhibition hall. I thought this might be useful for people that were going on the Sunday, so I rushed the footage up online as soon as I got back on Saturday. Didn't really do any editing on it, it's just the raw footage of me walking around. It seems to have been really received quite well. A couple of people didn't like it, but that's fair enough, you know, it's not to everybody's taste. But I hope it was of use to some people. And then the second video that I put up there, I spent quite a bit of time editing, and what I've tried to do is capture all, if not most, of the layouts that were there in some form. Now, some of the footage isn't great, but I think I've caught the essence of each of the layouts that were there, and I've tried to give them titles so to identify them. My apologies if I got any of those wrong. I think I've got them all right. Yeah, again, I'll put a link in the video now. If you haven't seen that one, I'm really pleased with that, and yeah, as I say, it does document the show quite well. As a result of those two videos, and those who have watched it, I have had a bit of feedback, and I think that's one of the things I wanted to sort of address with this video. So the feedback I've had is people looking at, particularly the first video with me walking around, feeling that the show isn't what it once was, that there's a lot of space, empty space there, not many retailers, not many people. So I think let's address the people first of all. Now, the video with me walking around, I was literally one of the first people there. I was let into the hall, and the very first thing I did is I walked around before it got crowded, so that I could do that footage of showing an empty show. And unfortunately, with hindsight, I didn't realise it would give the kind of impression that the show wasn't popular. About an hour after filming that, there's 5, 6, 7 people deep at most of the layouts. It was very, very busy, very crowded. You couldn't walk around freely. As for the show going downhill, I haven't been there for a number of years, but I felt for a London show, my entry ticket was £14. I felt that was really good value. The balance between the retailers, the clubs and societies, and also the quality of the layouts were there. Well worth that money any day of the week, and especially with free parking. So parking wise, you could pay to park at the top of the hill. It was £3 to park at the top of the hill, or you could park at the bottom of the hill for free. They did ask for a donation, and there's a shuttle bus that would take you to the top. Unfortunately, when I got there, I was there quite early. The shuttle bus weren't running, so I did walk up the hill, and yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. I'm not the fittest of chaps, and I got to the top, and yeah, it was a bit of an ordeal. But yeah, if you know, I would suggest if they run the show next year, I probably would think about parking at the top myself. So anyway, after walking up the hill, it was a bit drizzly, a bit rainy. This was my only complaint of the whole day. We were left outside in the rain. There was quite a large queue formed. Like I say, I was towards the front of that queue, but there was quite a large queue that formed there in the drizzle, and I don't think it would have hurt to allow those people into the Palm Court. It's a big area in the entrance foyer to the Alexandra Palace. We were let in a little bit early, but only after I'd been outside for half an hour, 40 minutes. So it wouldn't have hurt to let people in. There was also a lot of people sort of not complaining, but mentioning that you know, they would have bought breakfast. They were looking for somewhere to get a coffee, and nothing was open. They had a captive audience there. They could have made a roaring trade in coffees, and instead they left us sort of standing in the rain. So each their own. It was yeah, it would have been nice to have been let in the warm, but there you go. Yeah, after a while we were let in, and after the tickets were checked, we were guided into sort of a side room that was kind of a marquee that had been put up and allowed to queue in there. Once into the exhibition hall, absolutely fantastic. I really cannot stress how good this was, and I will be going next year, definitely. I loved every minute of it. And being, like I say, I've been to this show a couple of times before, and I'm always been quite an introvert. So I'd walk around the show, I wouldn't talk to anybody, and you know, I'd keep myself to myself. This time round, because I had the camera in my hand, a lot of people approached me and spoke to me, but also I went the other way and asked questions, and you know, even down to just asking, are you okay if I film your layout, that kind of thing. Yeah, and as a result of that, a lot of the exhibitors were keen to talk, and I met some really wonderful people with some really interesting stories, told me so much about their layouts, and gave me some of the insight into the detail behind them. It was wonderful, it was really good. So I would recommend, you know, if you do one of these fairs, do speak to the people exhibiting. Most of them, you know, some not so keen, but most of them are very keen to tell you about their layout, tell you about their modelling, and I think for me that made the show, meeting these lovely people. Yeah, and also the other thing to mention with the exhibitors is all of these layouts, although I appreciate most of them had been made to be transported, to actually move them from wherever their base was into the Alexandra Palace. I mean, some of these layouts were huge, absolutely huge. You would have needed several vans to move them. Now I try and move my layout from the workshop into the house and back again, and I've never successfully moved any of the layouts without breaking something. So how these, you know, how the exhibitors move these massive layouts with multiple pieces and intricate detail on them without anything getting broken or damaged is beyond me. So this is a heartfelt thanks to all of those people that did exhibit, put the effort into taking their layouts there, their exhibits to the show. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you putting all the effort in, there wouldn't be a show for us to go to. Certainly a collection of retailers wouldn't drag me all the way into London. So to have all of those layouts there, absolutely wonderful. Now there were a few layouts that did to stick in my mind. I have to say all of them were such a high standard. There was not one that I could name actually that was a little bit poor. They were all on a level beyond expectation, but there were a few that really did stand out. So just to mention a couple of mentions here, and in no particular order, these are and just my opinion of the ones that sort of stood out. Copper Wart was a 00 gauge layout. I'm actually got some crib sheets over here, that's why I keep looking to the side just to make sure that I don't miss anything. So it was Copper Wart. Basically the detail on it was exquisite. It had a certain look to it that was very, very realistic. When you got down on a level with it, there's not an angle you could look at where there wasn't, you know, the intricate detail that made you believe that you were in the scene. Based on a brewery, shunting locos, a 00 gauge, looked fantastic. I later found out that it's actually based around Burton-on-Trent. Didn't realise that at the time, around the period of about 1900. But it kind of went round a corner, so you could get different perspectives across and different viewpoints. Really, really good. I was really impressed with Copper Wart. Next one on the list was James Street. N-gauge layout. This one sticks in my mind purely because of the size of it, especially in N-gauge. I mean, this was huge. It went, you know, in one section, I reckon it was a good couple of meters across from the outside where we were standing into the centre where the people operating it were. A couple of meters across, all in N-gauge, really intricate scenery, and then it was swept around the corner into this area with a sort of harbour scene, which was fantastic. I mean, it was really, really good. But as I say, memorable purely for its complete size and complexity. Absolutely massive. One of the ones I particularly liked was Pacific Electric. I think I mentioned it in the video when I was looking at the different layouts. This one jumped at me because it was kind of set in a Pacific setting, so a lot of palm trees, a lot of period cars, and sort of Hawaii, if you like. I just love when there's something out of the unusual, so it's a layout that I just didn't expect to see, and I thought it was well executed and particularly stuck in my mind because of the theme. I really liked that one. And then there was Lakeside South Pacific, HO locos in American outline. I love my American locos. Layout itself was really well executed, really detailed. But I got talking to the chap on there, really nice guy, lots of stories, it was fantastic. And as a result of that conversation, he then showed me that the station building came apart, and I'll put a couple of pictures as I'm talking here, came apart, and each of the rooms would lift out and they were all intricately detailed. You'd never have known about this because, looking from the outside, unless you were up close, you wouldn't see this detail. But as I say, it all came apart to show inside. And again, how do you move something like that and make sure it doesn't get damaged? So fantastic, really nice to talk to the chap on there. Live steam, yeah, I was surprised there was no sort of ride-on or larger scale locos in the exhibition. I'm probably, from memory, I used to go to both the model railway exhibition, but also the model engineering exhibition. I'm probably getting the two muddled up here, but I genuinely was not surprised there wasn't any sort of garden railway live steam examples there. But certainly there was a G gauge layout there that I mentioned in the video. That's, I reckon, was about 40 meters long, but there was no sort of G gauge or O gauge live steam, which I was surprised at. However, there was the 00 live steam. It was a live steam road show. Now the layout itself is a functioning layout, so it literally is a track on a board. It's not got any scenery or anything as such as I could see, but ran multiple circuits, but all of the engines are in live steam. So for those that are not aware, going back to, I don't know, 10 years or so ago, Hornby launched a range of locos in 00 gauge that were live steam. So they had immersion heater in the tender, boiled the water, and then small valves inside that you open and close to get the engines moving on live steam with proper pistons, etc. Beautiful models. I have got a couple of them. They are a nightmare to run. Basically, there's a little switch and you open the valve very gently. Once you've built enough steam to get the valve moving, it starts to move, and then the moment it does move, obviously you get heat into the cylinders, and now it really starts to go. So the moment you've got it moving, you're now slowing the thing down, and it's a real balancing act. It's a real skill to drive, and I think that's the thrill of it, is that it was you were actually driving the loco. You have to decide the boiling point of the water, you have to open the valves at the right time and the right speed. But I have seen multiple examples of these running around the track, and some of them were beautiful engines. There was some Princess class going around on there, and there was a Flying Scotsman going around. Marvellous. Beautiful to see, and unfortunately it was quite noisy in the room, but you can hear them sort of chuffer, the sound of the steam as they go past you, which was really nice. So moving on then, so Wolfstadt of the Austrian Tyrol, HO locos running up and down on this beautiful landscape. Absolutely huge layout, and I read afterwards when I was going through my show guide, this is a father and son project, took 10 years to build. The detail in it is just exquisite, and I stood there, I filmed for a little bit, and then I stood there watching it for about half an hour. I thought it was fantastic. The setting, the scenery, you could almost believe that you're there. It was wonderful, and as I say, it was huge as well. Yeah, an Arcadia, although very small in itself, in its layout. The gentleman on there spent some time talking to me and explaining S gauge, new gauge to me, hadn't heard of S gauge before. Very interesting. The layout itself, because it's not a commercial gauge, everything on there is scratch built. The engine, for example, that was running on there is 50 years old, but was built from scratch. We had a long chat about the way that 3D printing is now coming into the fore, and it's allowing these, I'm going to say, obscure gauges. I'm sure they're not obscure to some people, but to me, you know, I really only look at the commercial gauges, and with these slightly off the beaten track gauges like S scale, with 3D printing, it's now opening up all kinds of avenues. It's quite exciting, really, you know, to think where the hobby may go. And finally, Bingley Road. What can I say? It's a scale and a period that I'm keen to get into, so it interested me greatly. So O gauge, 3 rail, electric trains. I wasn't sure at the time when I was walking around whether they were Hornby or not. Found out subsequently, yes, they were all Hornby. So period around 1940s, 1950s, these locos. So I loved the fact that, you know, this is a real vintage set and it looked fantastic. But beyond that, it was huge. There were tracks going everywhere. There were trains going everywhere. You couldn't take your eyes off the, you know, you're following one train along and then your eyes were going with another one. There were probably 20-30 locos running around the layout at any one time. It was amazing, and the sound it made had that real sort of clittery clattery sound that you'd only get from a vintage layout. Beyond that, you know, in the centre of the layout, there's all the vintage dinky toys, the little figures, all from around that period. It was absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing. And to bring all of that collection onto this large stand really took some doing, so thank you so much. I'm not sure actually whether, you know, that actually comes as a layout or they put it together there. I don't know, but yeah, it was fantastic to see. It really was. It was, and all of the models, considering their age, you know, getting on 80 odd years old, some of those models, and you know, all in beautiful condition, beautifully maintained and beautifully running as well. So that was really fantastic. Yeah, and the retailers. So we had a lot of retailers there, which was great. For those that thought the hobby, you know, I know the hobby's on the up, but for those who thought it was getting prohibitively expensive and everything else, there was a lot of money being spent. A lot of money being spent there. Some of it by me. It was great. Every single retailer had different things. So it wasn't, I've been to some fairs where, you know, every single retailer is selling the same thing for the same price. They were all different. Some really interesting stuff on the different stands. And obviously then you've got the manufacturers there as well. Rapido were there, but Bachmann were there, and various others. Acura Scale, they all had big stands there. Surprising not to see Hornby at the exhibition. Probably some reason for that, I don't know. Maybe it's because they've got their you know, their visitor centre in Margate. They probably think they've got the southeast covered, but all of the other manufacturers had a stand there. But anyway, back to the retailers, all really good, and I just want to say thank you to them as well, because, you know, something that occurred to me, there's a lot of the Metcalfe buildings for sale, and there was boxes of them, and one of these big boxes of Metcalfe models, you know, there's probably £200-300 worth of stock in there, that's all. And it's heavy and it's cumbersome, and over the weekend they're probably going to sell 2 or 3 items out of that. So for somebody to go to the effort of carrying that big box, even just carrying that big heavy box in from the van, put it on the stand, and then stand there to sell all day. They're not going to sell all of those models, they're going to sell a few of them, and then to take the ones they don't sell back again. It's a lot of effort. So I really appreciated it. I did pick up some models which I was really pleased with. So again, thank you to the retailers, and thank you to the manufacturers for being there. I mean, it was great to see the new models, and yeah, and I love to see the Lion running around on the Rapido stand. Absolutely fantastic. It was really good. Fantastic to see that running around the layout. I've been following the Lion story for quite a while now. You know, the story. If you're aware, there's been some commercial issues over it, but it's the Rapido version of that I'm particularly interested in, and it was lovely to see that running around on the layout. So anyway, I'm going to conclude this video just going through what I managed to buy there, because I was really pleased with my purchases. So yeah, I'll just go and get the pieces and bring them back over, and we'll go through them on the camera. Right, just going to got some of the bits just to show you. So I did pick up a few bits that I was really pleased with in the exhibition. So first of all, these cardboard models. Here we've got sort of a joint engine shed. In reasonable condition. Obviously needs a bit of a tidy up, a little bit of a clean up. Some of the windows are missing, and I'll soon get around to putting that back together, but that was pretty good. That's one of the card kits. There was these ones from Metcalfe, another engine shed. got a plan for this one, but that's for a future video. And then an accompanying little house to go with it. Good thing with this, the windows are actually been pushed through, they're inside, so that can easily be repaired. Quite pleased with those. And then finally, over the back here, I'll just lift this across, I picked up this Metcalf platform roofing. You can see here. Now, sadly, I managed to damage it, carrying it around with me all day, but it can easily be repaired. But this is all been wired for lighting. So I've got a plan for this, because on a layout that I haven't put on YouTube yet, that's my really detailed finished layout. Looks fantastic. It's already got some of this roofing on the station, but this will sit on the other side. So that, again, for a future video, I'll get that integrated into that layout. The other things I managed to buy is, as I was walking around the show, I did stop at the stall with the laser cut buildings, a company called Cut Creative, and their buildings are superb. I thought they were really good when I looked at them. So I have bought a couple of kits. I bought the signal box with its associated interior, and also a footbridge, which is there. Those, I do plan to do some videos of building those, because I think that may be of interest to people. This is sort of a new thing on the scene, or new to me anyway, where laser cut wooden kits, particularly the bridge, I thought looked superb. So we'll see how they go together. That's for a future video. And then I picked up a couple of card kits. I've just mentioned about carrying the card kits in. Well, I did buy a couple. I've been after the low relief cinema for some while. This is for the Hornby 00 3-rail layout that I'm building. You may have seen the videos, I'll put a link here if you haven't seen them. So it's a layout that runs around an open hole in the middle, so I can get the light through the layout, because it's a long story, but it's part of a stacking system for layouts. So I need low relief buildings to sit against the back scenery. I saw this a while ago. I haven't been able to get one, so I was really pleased to pick that one up, and a good price, £12 that one. And then I just saw this next to it, which is the Bank and Shops, which will go quite nicely on the other side of the layout, so that's good. And then finally onto a couple of locos that I picked up. There's this little 060 GWR loco with smoke. I'll do a review of these locos in detail in different videos, but this is beautiful, runs perfectly, really pleased with that. Cost £23. I think that was pretty good price actually. Next one was this one, Lord of the Isles. In all of the collection I've had, I've never had one of these locos in the collection, so I saw this, jumped on it, fantastic. £33, I don't think I could go wrong, and in its box, brilliant. And then finally this one, I was so pleased with this. This is one of the engines I have wanted for quite a long time, which is obviously the Coronation class. The old Triang version, which has the wrong size body. So this the story behind this body was fitted to an existing chassis, so it's slightly the wrong scale. I've wanted one of these. Saw this there, absolute pristine condition. The box is in great condition. Jumped on it, £55. I didn't think that was too bad, but you let me know what you think. So yeah, that was my, what do you call it, a haul, if you like, from the exhibition. I think I did pretty well. The buildings, all of the buildings were 20 quid. And obviously I'll go through these in detail, the laser cut pieces and prices, in future videos. But anyway, I just wanted to do this retrospective mainly to say thank you to the people that put the exhibition on, because I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was wonderful, it was good value, and yeah, just to share with you how pleased I was with the things I picked up there. Anyway, I'll leave this video there. If you like this kind of thing, please do subscribe. If you can like this video, really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you ever so much for watching, and catch you on the next one.